Hey guys, welcome back to another update. Today we're looking at Microstrategy, which we are seeing today actually falling by 0.7%. Not bad at all. Actually, arguably something quite good. I want to show you now the trend that we're seeing on the charts here because it does appear that we are finding some degree of stabilization. Now, if you've been following this one for some time, you will know we've seen a lot of volatility, specifically over the last couple of months. However, we are seeing something very good happen here, arguably a very interesting entry point, but I'll get to that in just a second. So, to quickly speak today about what's happened for today's trading session, really there's not that much to report on. Relatively flat day, only a drop of 0.74%, less than 1%. And I think this now does bring us up to a very interesting point on the charts. Now, before we do fully jump into the video, I want to say a few things. First thing, if you like these videos, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Share it with somebody if you can as well. It helps me, and the more guys who subscribe, the more of you guys who like as well, it tells me that you want to see more content specifically on this stock. Secondly, do remember I am not a financial advisor, and this is not financial advice. It's simply me sharing my personal thoughts based on what I am seeing. So today's not really been that big of a day, not that significant of a day. You know, we're seeing a volume really not too large either, slightly picking up towards the end of the day, but not particularly amazing. However, this does now signify a very interesting point with this stock. And again, kind of like what we spoke about in the last week, I now think we're at a very interesting point because, yeah, we've seen this large decrease, mainly from those prices way in the 420 range, something like that, to where we are now. However, you could make a very strong argument now that we are coming towards this point, which is historically significant, historically important for the stock. Why do I say this? Well, I'm sure a lot of you guys can see on the charts what I am kind of alluding to here. You see the dotted line that I'm drawing? We'll call this we're going to call it 360, right? We'll call it 360 on the dot. It might be a little bit higher, but we'll call it 360 on the dot, okay? 359, 360. That currently is holding up here. That has held up here. That has held up here. That has held up here. That, to a degree, you could say has held up here as well. Zoom out and this really becomes important, right? So we have seen a semi-decent recovery on this stock, really. I mean, we were at prices significantly higher going way back to 2024. However, based on what we're seeing now, based on what we know now, and based on the price action now, the question in my mind, and the question in a lot of you guys' minds, is likely, are we finding this bottom here again? And whilst there is always a possibility that we could go lower, and whilst I am not a financial advisor, and whilst I do recommend that you guys also factor in this rise that we've seen, from prices in the 200 range, all the way to the 400 range, and relatively back down to where we are right now, whilst I do recommend that you also factor in the fact that we're seeing lower highs and lower lows, I also think it's important to acknowledge the historical significance of this point here. And I think given the context of the relatively slow decline, the relatively stable stabilization right about the important or historically important point, we're now coming to this question mark on the charts, right? This mark on the charts where you've got to say, is this now a potentially interesting or good entry point for this stock? Now, I think this should go without saying. This is going to be a relatively risk-heavy stock, right? So you're going to need to crunch the numbers. You're going to need to analyze and manage based on your own risk tolerance profile. However, with that being said, for this stock, this has historically been a low point, right? Maybe a couple of dollars lower, maybe, you know, down to that 360 exactly, 359, 358, but we're now in that realm where we have seen this one bounce historically. And I think that is worth noting. If you guys are ready to get serious about trading for less than the price of a coffee every day, I've got to tell you about the new Patreon page that I have just launched. That's right, guys, I have a new Patreon. I'm going to be sharing everything on here, from my personal stocks that I am watching to pre-market updates, as well as a Discord group which I have started. It's going to allow you to access similar-minded, like-minded people who are also interested in sharing their knowledge about the markets. I'm going to be sharing a lot of stuff over here, guys. There's going to be a lot of exclusive content coming in the next couple of weeks. But do bear in mind, for most of the tiers, spots are limited. The Market Scout, where you'll gain access to the Discord, prices will change after 150 members. At the moment, guys, I'm limited for time, so the Trader's Edge course and above, we're limiting the courses even lower, right? There's a limited amount of people who can join. At the same time, depending on the level of mentorship that you want, we have prices going all the way up from 1450 to the highest tiers over here that you can see. Again, if you're looking to take your journey to that next level, on these middle tiers, this is personally the one that I would recommend, even though it's not the most expensive. It costs less than a coffee every single day, and the amount of information that you'll get here, in my personal opinion, is absolutely worth the value. At the very least, guys, you can become a member for free. The link is down in the description, the comment section, and the bio. Just give it a look and see what you think. And of course, feel free to sign up if you're looking to take your journey even further. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the video. I mean, on the potential downside, you know, the next levels of support that we could be looking at, well, I think we should zoom out a bit further. Could be looking to go to the 352 range if you were to go down. Past that, you could make an argument for something like 330, 320, if we were to go to that low side. However, again, if you're potentially comfortable with this risk, if it's something that you do see as being an opportunity, you know, and if you think it's going to hold up, well, there's an argument for that too. On the upside, then we've got a break past important levels. I see these currently as being roughly 375.50. Previous level of support, previous level of support, previous level of resistance. Same goes for here as well. Then you're looking at levels potentially more like 391, 392, 393. All of these being key levels of resistance here, here, here. Arguably here for a small percentage of time. They are all going to be the next important levels to the upside. Then you're looking at levels even as high as 400, 410. Again, resistance, resistance. That is arguably a key level of resistance. And again, 400, somewhat a resistance around here too. However, there is a strong argument to be made, and it depends again how much risk tolerance you have, right? Because there is there's two ends to play on this one for sure. But for the risk tolerant amongst us, of the people who want to see it that way, you could very much make this argument that we're now coming very close to what has historically been, in the last couple of weeks at least, a relative bottom for this stock. We're now coming to a level where we could be looking at this one possibly going higher, right? So if you were to crunch it on that level, and again, I'm not going to tell you guys what to do. It's not my job to make your opinions up. It's my job to share my personal thoughts here, right? But I think, based on what I'm seeing, we are arguably now coming to the bottom. Now, if we don't see this one hold up specifically tomorrow, the next day, and into the rest of the week, yes, it is going to be that soon, then we could be looking to go lower, right? Again, 359, 358 tomorrow, even that I wouldn't see a concern. But if we were to drop significantly below that to the 351, 350, that's not a good sign for me, right? For me at least. However, if we start to move up slowly tomorrow, I think that's a very good sign. This is always going to be a risky stock, at least for now, right? I think that's just a blatant fact. I don't think that's an opinion, right? This does come with a lot of risk. At the same time, if that is a strategy that you wish to adopt, could we be looking to retest 400, 405, 410, 415, 420, 430? Well, I don't think it's going to come quickly. But I think based on the levels that we're at right now, there is an argument possibly to be made that could be ahead. On the technicals at least, you could definitely say we're coming near to a bottom. And that's just something that I want to say. So really, I'm going to leave it there for this one, guys. I think this one's pretty simple. I'm feeling relatively optimistic about this stock. Just my opinion, based on what we're seeing right now. But yeah, that is actually the way I see it. This is actually one that I personally feel quite good about. Let me know what you think about it though in the comment section. Thank you so much for sharing the time with me in this video today. And I do hope I'll see you again in another one soon. Goodbye for now, guys. See you later.